Talofa lava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Suiswiki. Coming up.
One pastor that sent through a message, he witnessed at least 7 people get shot.
Up to 50 people believed to be dead near PNG's Porgera mine. Also,
generally we're seeing that there are risks going up in some of these communities.
Seasonal work programs putting more stress on Pacific families, and later on,
this is a connection to their ngawha, their whakapapa, and it gives them a sense of belonging.
Australia hosts its first ever Siva Afi competition. A lawyer and community leader near Papua New Guinea's Porgera mine site says up to 50 people could be dead from clashes between 2 clans, with official figures yet to be confirmed. The fighting is believed to have started following a dispute between illegal miners. Lydia Lewis has more.
Buildings have been set on fire as retaliatory attacks continue. Lawyer and community leader Lakis Ruing says police and military personnel have been outnumbered.
There's a big fight going on, claim more than 20 plus lives have lost properties. The employees of Porgera mine they are not going to work. The place is in chaos. There are so many houses are being burned. Property worth million skinners at the power stations is going up in flame right now as I'm speaking.
A senior member of the Porgera community who did not want to be named told our PNG correspondent Scott Wider the level of violence is unprecedented.
Random people were being shot at. One pastor that sent through a message said that he witnessed at least 7 people get shot.
Mr. Wider says it's not clear whether they've been killed or injured.
There have been pictures that have been sent through of dead bodies in the bushes.
Mr. Ruing says high-powered guns are being used.
As I'm speaking, I can hear the sounds of the weapons. They are very high-powered weapons are being used on the ground right now.
He says hundreds of women and children are displaced in an area still grappling with the ongoing impacts of a major landslide disaster.
As the fighting started, the women and children, they have no place to go, so they have to go right into the mine site just to get the protection. Children, old men, old women, they are congregated right there, and there's no food, nothing.
An issue Prime Minister James Marape told RNZ Pacific his government is tackling just a few weeks earlier.
Government has fund programs. We have policy to acquire land, demarcate land, and give titles to proper residents in our cities. It's a growing problem. The world is getting urbanized. Papua New Guinea remains largely a rural-based population. Before
rebuilding and resettling can take place, the task now for Acting Western Division Assistant Police Commissioner Joseph Tondop is to get the fighters to lay down their arms.
I've asked for reinforcements.
He says the situation remains tense.
I tell you, it's just unbelievable. Over 300 gunshots starting from 9:30 up until 3:30. So that's a clear indication that we do have very high-powered weapons in the wrong hands.
Police Commissioner David Manning has issued an emergency order to authorise the use of force.
News and overnight, local authorities have cleared part of the slip blocking entry to Porgera 4 months on from the Mulitaka disaster. This means additional police can now get through. A Kanak independence advocate says the appointment of a right-wing Prime Minister in France could potentially fan violence in New Caledonia. Pockets of the heavily militarised capital Nomea remain volatile, and rifts continue on between pro- and anti-independence groups in the territory. Pro-Independence Alliance FLNKS member Jimmy Nauna says the new Prime Minister, Michel Barnier, has previously sided with loyalists in the territory. Margot Staunton asked Mr. Nauna to elaborate.
So we were expecting that Macron would not appoint one of the left-wing parties into government. It's not a disappointment at all. It's just that could, in some ways, not help progress talks on the political future of the Caledonia, especially having a Prime Minister who has made public statements on the situation and taking side on New Caledonia's political future. So whoever is the Prime Minister, we still need to negotiate our way forward, after the accord and towards a new referendum.
So you don't think this will inflame current tensions in New Caledonia?
It could inflame current tensions. That has to be managed by the central government and different political parties in New Caledonia. It will depend how it conducts its policies in New Caledonia. If it's confrontational, then that might inflame again the tensions. But if it's trying to really get middle way in the political talks, then I think we can pull something out of it.
When you say it could inflame tensions, what precisely do you mean by that? Do you think that some of the younger generation may react?
Yes, because the situation here is still volatile. It has calmed down, but we still have some pockets of tensions around the country, especially around the mayor. So, having all the military presence in New Caledonia, and it can just trigger violence again. It's a matter of the new government to manage that. We know very little about Mr. Barnier. He has not had any close interaction with New Caledonia, apart from statement that he has made in the past, I think prior to the last referendum on self-determination for New Caledonia, clearly stating that like to see New Caledonia remain within the French Republic, so clearly taking side with the loyalist and pro-France groups in New Caledonia. But apart from that, he is not known here, or at least within the pro-independence groups here in New Caledonia. And now he's been appointed as the new Prime Minister, and he's yet established his new government and cabinet, so we'll see what comes in the next couple of weeks. But
He has called for the territories to remain French, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. So that's already an indication that we may have someone not as neutral as we would wish in the new government in Paris, someone with whom we can talk and negotiate the new political agreements, after the Lumiere Accord. But hopefully he has changed.
Well, he's entrenched in the Gaullist tradition of seeing France as a global power and has said that the only way France can maintain that is because of its numerous colonial dependencies. This doesn't bode well, does it, for you?
No, because for us, there needs to be a new pathway towards new referendum and independence. So, of course, France is putting forward its Indo-Pacific strategy, but New Caledonia also has its own interest in the region, and we need to be able to negotiate both parties' interest in the region.
Anti-independence politicians in New Caledonia have welcomed Barnier's appointment. Labour mobility schemes are meaning women in the Pacific are carrying a heavier load when it comes to raising their children. It comes out in a new report by UNICEF, which says in some communities, large proportions of working-aged men have left for work in New Zealand and Australia. It says despite financial benefits, the schemes can sometimes create family tensions and lead to marital breakdowns. Fiji's Employment Minister, Agni Deo Singh, told Caleb Fotheringham the government is making changes to how it rolls out the schemes.
We have taken some steps here in Fiji to try and mitigate the problems that are faced by children that are left behind. We have changed the actual form on which the applications are received from workers to include the number of children and the schools they are in and the year they are in. Also the name of the caregiver in their absence, their relationship with the caregiver, and the contact of the caregiver so that we can monitor how the children are being looked after, and also through the teachers at the schools as to how they're performing at school and whether they are fully equipped when they come to school, including their lunches, etc. We are also discouraging both parents to leave at the same time. We are making sure that either one goes, the other should stay back to look after the children. So these are some measures that we are taking here in Fiji. We have also extended the orientation program from 4 days to 2 weeks, and we are including the caregivers who are going to look after the children in the absence. We are also including the spouses where the spouses are available, and making sure that the worker is sending money regularly to the caregiver or the spouse who is looking after the children back at home.
So it sounds like Fiji is doing quite a bit on your end, but what about New Zealand and Australia? Could they do anything to make the seasonal work schemes better for the children and the countries that they are effectively taking the parents from?
We have not discussed this matter with our Australian counterparts yet, but we will be flagging it when we are there with them in our next visit. We know that under the family accompaniment scheme, some workers will be able to get their spouses and children over to Australia, and the children will be able to attend school at the local, at the same cost as the Australian children in terms of levies, etc. So that's one plus that we have right now, but that's a very small number, I must say.
Overall, have the labour schemes been beneficial for Fiji, would you say?
Well, in terms of remittances, yes, quite beneficial. We have a large number of success stories in the form of workers coming back and starting their own businesses or improving their farms, building new homes, even contributing to the general development of their villages in terms of sanitation, in terms of other facilities. So there's a number of stories of that nature that we are aware of. And quite a number of them also come with good savings. So yes, definitely families have improved, and also it's a great learning experience for them in terms of financial literacy, managing their budget, etc., upgrading their skills, and applying those when they're back at home to further improve their own productivity, whether they are self-employed or otherwise.
Who has had the better deal, Australia, New Zealand, or Fiji and the other Pacific Island nations?
Well, I believe we, the labour-spending countries, are contributing to billion-dollar industries for Australia and New Zealand. No doubt about that. I think it is a mutually beneficial scheme. Our workers are benefiting and our countries are benefiting in terms of remittances, while our workers there contribute immensely to their economy.
So it's mutually beneficial, but would you say that anyone has benefited more?
It would be quite unfair of me to just, make a statement of that nature, to say who has benefited more.
Have the social costs of these labour schemes been considered previously to this report?
We have been aware. Actually, this report has been much more revealing. But we have been aware in the past. We have received reports from our own caregivers here in instances where they have said that the worker has stopped sending money for expenses, or that on some of them they would get involved with some other person in terms of extramarital affairs. So these are some of the issues that we have been faced with, but not that significant a number.
5 Samoan youth are travelling to Australia to compete in the country's first ever Siva Afi competition. The team are students of Tautua Dance, a Wellington-based performing arts school aiming to help Samoan youth living in Aotearoa to connect with their culture. Tiana Haxton spoke to Tautua Dance co-director Jaden Luapo to learn more about the school and their upcoming adventure.
Tautua Dance was established back in 2016. We first started teaching inside private schools, and we decided to open up our own dance classes, and from there it's just built all the way up to teaching Siva Samoa all over Wellington. And then 2022, we decided to add Siva Afi as another part of our services, and from there it's blown up. And yeah, we've been very fortunate enough to win a few competitions, have some of our kids place in the top 3 in New Zealand, and take our kids around the world.
I'm glad I had the opportunity to meet and see the students performing earlier this year at the Wellington Pacifica Festival. Super talented youngsters, and you were all gearing up to travel to Hawaii then for a competition. And now the team is off to Australia. Tell us what's happening there.
Yeah. So we're heading off to the first Australian competition under Toa Leafi Pati Levasa. and we're taking 5 of our amazing warriors over. So we have 2 females and 3 males. We're pretty excited for it to be the first of its kind in Australia. Bearing in mind, New Zealand's been going for quite a few years now. I think we're going on to our 5th year as a competition. Even prior to COVID, it was going, and then they had to adapt. So for us to go over to Australia is massive. We're looking forward to, just expanding, learning, and just taking our kids out of Wellington, to be honest, just to open up their eyes and see the world in a different aspect rather than thinking that they always have to make sports teams in order to travel. Siva Afi in itself is a sport, but it's not recognized as a sport of that, caliber. So it's just starting here in Wellington and in New Zealand in itself and Australia. So, yeah, just going from country to country has been amazing for our kids in their own development as young Pasifika artists and as young leaders, future leaders. So, yeah.
And how valuable are opportunities like these for the kids themselves, especially those born and raised here in Aotearoa? Not only do they have the means to learn more about their culture through your academy, but they get to travel and represent their culture on an international stage. What does this do for their confidence and their cultural identities?
Well, it's massive, because most of our students, across all of our services, there's just that lack of connection. And for us, when we started Tautua Dance, we wanted to be that bridge between them and their identity through Siva Samoa, through our music, through our actions, through everything such as that, we wanted to be of service and being able to take them, some of them were the first time on the plane to head to another country like Hawaii. And for them, it opens their mindset to, wow, there are more things to life than what's in Porirua, what's in the Hutt Valley, what's in Wellington itself, and that I can actually make it as a performer. Not many people think that performers can make a living or it's a career. Growing up, it was either, university, so you could go get a good job. It was either go and play rugby league, and become a professional athlete. But no one really looked at being an artist. And to be honest, our people are professional artists way before colonization. You know what I mean? So this is a connection to their ngafa, their whakapapa, and it gives them a sense of belonging. And for us, it's just about just making sure that they feel like they're confident in who they are first and foremost before they even go onto that stage. Because if you go onto that stage not being confident in your own identity, you're either going to get injured or you're not going to give it your full potential on stage as it is off stage. So, yeah.
Well, best of luck to your competitors. So you're flying out to Brisbane this weekend. Preliminaries on the 27th and finals on the 28th. Where can we find out more or follow along with the competition?
Yeah, there's tickets on sale. If you want to get tickets, it's on the Poutoa page or on the Patile Vasa social media platforms. Their social media platforms are going crazy, introducing all of the competitors and where they're coming. You have people coming from Washington, obviously Wellington, Auckland, as far as New Caledonia. So it's a massive international competition for its first one. So, the Australians, they like to go big or go home. So they're going big.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā sui fua.